Welcome to A Magical Life, Health, Wealth and Weight Loss. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, lead practitioner at Holistic Natural Health Australia and #1 best-selling author. In this podcast, I aim to give you practical tips on how to accelerate and sustain your health, increase your financial, spiritual and emotional wealth, and to look at something that haunts many of us needlessly, weight loss. Now, sit back and enjoy, because it is time for you to create and truly discover a magical life. Welcome back to A Magical Life. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, and today Jason Pike joins us, a decorated combat veteran with multiple deployments. Lieutenant Colonel Jason Pike served 31 years in the United States Army as both an enlisted and officer, including 9 years overseas in 5 countries. Jason earned over 30 service awards and badges and survived a wicked amount of military training. Thrown under the bus and gaslighted by his own superiors, arrests and investigations are big stories here. His book, A Soldier Against All Odds, compiles all his life events in an inspiring storytelling format with the ups and downs of a life in uniform. His diversity of Army jobs, assignments and schools from age 17 to 48 sets this military memoir up differently than most. Jason's brutal honesty on how he did it while disclosing many sacred secrets about how he survived is unique. With a straightforward account of one man's journey, he inspires audiences nationwide at speaking events and shows how to be resilient and to persevere no matter what disadvantages and life struggles may happen. Welcome, Jason.
Hey, I'm very honored, Magic, to be on your show. I'm very honored about that. And I'm ready. I'm ready to go for it, and I can answer about any question you got me. You want to answer, really?
Great. Well, I will fire them off, but people are probably listening to that bio going, I need a copy of this book. So it is on Amazon.com. If people look up Soldier Against All Odds memoir, they should find it there.
Yes, yesterday and today it hit #1. I think technically right now it's #2. This is according to U.S. Army Biographies Memoirs. So, but of course, maybe, yeah. So that's what it is today. It ranges between #2 to 40, 50. But I'm happy with all the reviews, and I love reviews, and yes, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
Terrific. So, Jason, I ask all of my guests the same 3 questions to start our podcast, and everyone gives me different answers. But I've never had a man of service answer them. So here comes your first one, and that is, what can your expertise do to accelerate health, not just physical, but also emotional and spiritual health?
Yes. Oh, every day I have to go to I don't have to, but it makes me so refreshed. Overseas, I lived 9 years overseas, and when you go to a sauna and you sweat out toxins, I guess, or you sweat anywhere, and then you go to a cold shower, and then you go back into a sauna. Do it 2 or 3 times. Drink lots of water. Drink, but not just water, but also drink some, some whatever your favorite drink is to replenish the electrolytes. Do that as well. I exercise out daily. It doesn't matter what it is. Right now, I'm in mostly cardio, but I'm 57 years old, but I can probably do better than most 57-year-olds just because I've had a lifetime of fitness. I really have. And it served me well, but I had to do fitness in the military over 31 years. So, but that became a part of my life, fitness. But sauna and then a cold bath. Sometimes in Germany and Korea and all these other countries, they have cold baths. Go from switch it out. I love that stuff. I did it today. I try to do it every day.
I love that. And it's certainly something very healthful and health building. Are there other things that you learned in the Army on how you could keep your mental health aligned?
Well, Well, in the beginning of my life, failure and pain just became a part of it. I think kids are resilient, and I think it just became a part of my life that I failed. I had a learning problem, and that I wasn't smart as other folks, and that was a label I put on myself. Reading and writing has been a difficult chore for me, and following instructions. Yeah, I understand you're thinking, well, you're a high ranking officer in the military. How can, and I'm an author of a book, but I just work through these things that compensated around them. Mental health for me really is just getting out into nature. And you could have dogs, or you can have animals, or you can go for a walk out in the park, or whatever you have to do. And getting alone a little bit, not always, not isolating yourself, but hearing the birds and the things, the chirping, and then maybe doing exercise out there with them. And there's just something to that. It's hard to explain, but I think that's a really good part of mental health.
Great. We talk about wealth here as well, Jason, and many people think that's just financial. It can also be personal and emotional wealth. So, what are your top three tips to creating wealth?
Ooh, yes, financial wealth. I've done pretty well in that because I've always, financial wealth. I've always done my dollar cost averaging, the traditional, go into a stock mutual fund and done like that. Personal wealth. Oh, you want to find the right partner that you want to be with, and avoid all the drama of what's associated with it. And I don't know the technique of finding that person to help you along. Everybody needs somebody. That's a good song, I guess. You said just was that, but you have to find somebody help you out, to partner with you, and to keep on going. And wealth, yes, you got financial wealth, and you said personal and emotional wealth. But for me, I have to get up, and for emotional wealth, I have to get up and hear the birds and the bees, and hear the dog, or hear something, and I get contacted with nature. That's just me, though. That might not be you, but that's just me, and that's kind of what I do. And I was born out in the country, and I live out in the country, and that just I can hear things, I can see things, I can feel things from just the birds and the bees. So that's kind of what my answer is for that one.
Great. And our final standard question is around weight. Many people battle their weight. So, have you battled yours? If so, how did you win that war? And what can you offer the listeners who might be on this journey?
Oh my gosh. So stay active, just move, and don't sit down. Don't sit down so long for hours. I think, and if you have to have a lot of people now are online and at a computer. I'm sitting down right now, but I normally stand up at a desk. So I usually stand up if I'm having to do all this online activity, and have it. In the United States, there was a guy who's a Secretary of Defense, and he was in his 70s, and he worked at the Pentagon in D.C. He had a standing desk. He didn't sit. He stood. In other words, he at his computer or his office. He didn't sit. He stood, and I heard, I don't know, that sitting is the new cancer, but you got to get up and move. And so that's what I do, and I think that's a really, really good, important lesson to learn. Even if you get a little bit older and you can't go out and run 5 miles, you can stand up and you can walk around. So
Okay, so we've already covered a fair bit, Jason. Now I want to open the floor to you. Why the military? What got you into that role? And tell us about some of these events that were a little bit life shaking.
well, I was identified three different times throughout my adult life and my young life as a learning challenged person. In other words, I just don't get it. So if you were my spouse or wife and you ask me to change a light bulb, I just don't understand things. You'll sometimes you'll be talking to a rock, and I know that sounds crazy because I've been 31 years in the military, but it took me a long time to compensate around those things, and I was identified early, and I thought military college was not an option, and so military I felt was an option because you can just do what they say, not have to think, and then just do whatever they want you to do. And even then, that was that was a challenge, and so I chose the military. But of course, as you can see in my biography, I had to go. I went through the ranks, and I got my college degrees, and there is an ironic memoir here where a person who was serious have some serious issues with learning, but went to a higher rank. And I think that's the difference of this memoir compared to other memoirs is how the hell, and that's what they said, how the hell did you do it? And that was the question. So that's why I wrote the memoir, as everyone asks me, how the hell did you do all this? So
Okay, now in your bio, you mentioned arrests and, being finger pointed at. Tell us about some of that. What are we going to see in the memoir?
you're going to see multiple arrests that I've had with law enforcement in the United States. Oh, and this is a very, I had to vomit this out. It's very difficult to get out. You're going to see investigations of the federal government with me being thrown. I like what you said in the very beginning, thrown under the bus and ghostlighted. And that's where the meat of it goes towards the end of the memoir. And I come out of that. I had a lot of issues. I was both. Everything started from the bottom. So private, education wise, I had to go to community college. But like you said, investigations and arrests, I got multiple arrests, but I worked through them. Most people would give up, but I didn't. I just kept on going and I got through them. Now, I like what you said about ghostlighting and throwing under the bus. That was a federal investigation of the United States government involving criminal investigation and the military intelligence to sort of throw me under the bus. Now, in this memoir, the reason I'm so brutally honest is because when I go to these dark, deep chapters, I want to be also honest with people I accuse of my perpetrators. So I had to change names. So I tell you what's my fault, and in multiple events that I had in my life, which we all have are failures. But what pisses me off a lot is what I was not at fault at. And that's what pisses me off at. And I was not at fault, and I was charged with subversion and espionage against the U.S. government, which means they thought I was selling secrets, selling information, giving information for my benefit. And that pissed me off a lot. In that chapter that I have, there's also multiple charges of different things, pedophilia and things of that nature. And I almost lost my freaking mind. I really did, because I knew that it was false. And you start charging me with espionage. Well, see what they do sometimes in organizations. It could be a church, it could be a school, it could be anything. They might want to create rumors to get you out. They might want to give you false information to get you out. This was over 10 years ago. So I'm speaking to you from some, and I had changed, but I'm speaking to you but I'm trying to learn. I want to teach a lesson in false allegations that can screw not only you up, but your family up and really hurt you. And so I went through all that. I went through all these false allegations. And it was really a lot of people say, what the hell happened? And I just pissed some people off because I was not agreeing to the professional job, the job that I thought that I should do when I was in South Korea. This was in South Korea. Soldiers are stationed in South Korea. And that was just one of my assignments of many assignments overseas. And I just happened to not get along with some particular people that had a power. And I was a senior guy at the time. Believe it or not, I had rose up to a lieutenant colonel rank, and I pissed some people off. I'm sorry for that. I really am. I know they threw everything they could at me to get me out of the military, but that's just, there was just disagreements, but I went under the bus. I went gaslighting. I love that term when you said gaslighting and under the bus. but that was the way it was. And I never had experienced that. And it still sometimes haunts me today, even though it's been many years, probably 13 years, I guess. 14 years. So I wanted to speak about that. That's where the dark, deep spark, the part goes to. And I think that I can help other people out and how to get around this, or how or to just show what I went through that maybe you might be going through. And I did this as a senior person. So no, I've had my challenges. And what I'm saying is, like, I want to be honest with this whole memoir and give you everything I got. And that's kind of where it went to. And I went onto a federal investigation. And but when I look back at it, what pisses me off also is no one said they were sorry, and no one said there was nothing there, and no one told me that it was all bullshit. And it just went away, and that's what I don't like. I don't like them saying that's okay. You're going to charge me with something. You're going to say you did this, you did that, or maybe you need to get a defense attorney, but nobody said all this, people following me around with boom cameras, people trying to call me and check me out and my family out. I thought that was a bunch of, and what I'm saying is, okay, maybe you think that, and that pissed me off. But then, like, why don't you come back and say this was all bullshit? And that's what I don't like. That's what pisses me off a lot. If it's okay, I mean, what I'm saying is it's not okay if I didn't, but they didn't say it was okay. And what I'm saying, that's what I got pissed off about. Yeah. So yeah, I'm over with that. You can ask some more questions about that if you need to.
I think that's quite reflective of society. There's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of the blame game, but no one ever really comes and says, sorry, we were wrong. We had it wrong, or we made an assumption. And I think that is quite reflective of what a lot of people are going through. So that was the dark times. How did you reach the light? How did you crawl out of this? And what can the listeners learn from the positive steps that you took to get out of this place that was quite intrusive to you?
You gotta hold on to your family and your friends, whoever that might be, and you got to talk to them. You got to talk to them. You got to hold on to them. Whoever has faith in you to get this through. The damn attorneys, they're just going to be bullshitters. But I mean, he was just, and so you just got to hold on to the trusted people. And then I went into another dark time directly after this. It was sort of a 1, 2, 3 punch. So that was a dark time. That was probably my darkest time. I feel that my post-traumatic stress occurred during that time. Now, right after that time, I come from South Korea back to America to go to another station. We move around in the military. My dad dies. That's a really big, big deal. And then at the same time my dad's dying, they saying, oh, by the way, you're going to go to Afghanistan and go to war. Now, I was trained for war. I've been prepared for war. I know how to deal with that. But it was 1, 2, 3 punch. It was like the investigation. My dad died, come back, dad's dying. I'm talking to him. And then while he's dying, you're going to have to go away and go to war. So those were 1, 2, 3 punches. Now, how I dealt with it, pretty much like I exercised, and I talked to family members, and I went to counseling, and I don't like the medications. I don't care with the medications. That's just me, though. Maybe other people like it, but that's not me. I went into depression. I could have gotten out because of mental health from Afghanistan if I wanted to. That's how bad I was at that time. But I started talking to an uncle who said, what would your dad think? Choked me up here. What would your dad think if you got out of Afghanistan because of your mental health? And I said, well, he wouldn't like it. And so that's what kind of told me to keep on going, which was hard to do. So I went into a war zone, which I was completely trained to do, with the mental health really going downhill because of all this other stuff that I was dealing with my father's death and the investigation. Now, how did I get through that? what I did was I had visions of all my mothers, my father, all my life. And I just developed these photographs in my mind. And I went on to an elliptical and I did this processing where I cried and then I laughed. And then I just, whatever my emotion was, I don't care who was around me. They probably thought I was psychotic at the time, but I don't care. I'm just going to cry on this machine. I'm going to laugh and I'm going to whatever it might be on the machine. And I just allow this stuff to process out of me, sweat and memories and crying and everything at the same time, whether it be in the gym or around people or anything else. I did that over and over. Of course, I did see some counselors and did that. And then, that's how I made it through Afghanistan. Afghanistan, I was with my soldiers. I didn't have my wife and, of course, my daughter in the war, but I had some soldiers that took care of me that they knew that my father died. I never told them about being thrown under the bus because that was sort of a big secret. That was sort of an investigation. And I didn't know how to even explain it to anybody at that time. Even to myself, I didn't know how to explain it. So I just said, my dad died. And they said, okay, we understand. And they took care of me and I took care of them. And we made it out very successfully from Afghanistan and the war zone. And that was a pretty dark time. It was like a 1, 2, 3 punch. You know.
So you rose to quite a high rank. I'm not 100% familiar with the ranking structure, but being of high rank and then coming back, retiring, moving into civilian life, what did that feel like?
The transition's always difficult for a lot of soldiers because with soldiers, we're kind of looked at as a team. We have a rank. I never held rank on my shoulder. In other words, I don't really care if you call me a lieutenant colonel. So a lieutenant colonel is considered a senior executive person in the United States military. And but to me, I didn't hold my rank, but we all, if you've done 30 something years or whatever, like me, you all have like this is what you have and now you're going somewhere else. So it was a transitional experience. I didn't really know what to do except get health. I really wanted to get my mental health together before I did anything else because my mental health was pretty bad, really bad. And so I just went through various counselors and various techniques. I don't like the medicines. It's just me, but I had tried the medicines. I don't like the medicines. And I had to go through post-traumatic stress counseling and various techniques with that. And I learned a whole lot about how to manage it. It's always going to be there, but you can manage it. And I'm not an expert. I'm not certified, but I kind of understand post-traumatic stress syndrome pretty well. And I've learned to manage it in my own way. Yeah.
Great. Before we wrap up this interview, is there something that we haven't discussed that you feel the listeners need to hear?
Well, this whole memoir, my book, jasonpike.org, the memoir is really, it's a down to earth, heart to heart conversation with my 31 years in uniform. I'm not going to bullshit you about anything. I'm not lying. I'm not going to tell you I conquered half of Afghanistan. What I'm doing is I'm trying to tell you about my failures and the fiascos of my life. Even though I was successful, I want to try to impart some sort of inspiration and, hope and success and future success, as long as you just don't give up. I know you just don't give up. And I know that's might be hard a lot for people to do. But I really come from a background that might help inspire people. That's what I'm wanting to put out. jasonpike.org. It's on Amazon. Jason Pike on Amazon. I'm on Facebook and everywhere else. So I'm on audio. I've done the audio. A year ago today, I would not be expressing myself like I am to you today. I could not express myself on a camera, on an audio like I'm doing right now. I've worked on this for about a year or so. And so everything I do is struggle and everything I do is from the bottom. And maybe you can learn something or have inspiration for myself. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Jason. I've loved having a chat with you, and I know the listeners will have enjoyed this episode as well.
Thank you very much, Magic. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be on your show.
Thank you. And listeners, I'm honored to have you listening. Please like, subscribe, review, and share this podcast with everyone that you care about. And for now, go forth and create your magical life. Thanks for listening today. Please subscribe to hear future episodes, leave a review, and share this podcast. Drop us a line at A Magical Life Podcast on Facebook and let me know what you would like to know more about. You can find us on Instagram at Holistic Natural Health, that's holistic with a W, or at www.holisticnaturalhealth.com.au. That's where you'll access all sorts of articles, freebies, and more.